here in a second. We do have some breaking news here.
Okay. Wow.
James Franklin.
Yeah.
Virginia Tech has hired James Franklin as head coach.
Wow. So it's happening. So James Franklin, we have talked about this ever since he was fired from Penn State. One of the big things that we talked about was a stipulation in his contract that he had to be actively searching for a job, whether it's in broadcast or as a head football coach. Virginia Tech has been saying this for a long time. They fired their coach, Brent Pry, and they have been saying for a while they're going to put resources into athletics, specifically into football. I think the number was north of $100 million. And they said enough for James Franklin to come on as the new head coach. Was he the first fired of the P4?
No, that was Sam Pittman.
Pittman was first fired.
It was Pittman, and then it went Brent Pry.
Right.
And then it went, then it was Sean Foster.
Okay, yeah.
Or no, Foster was before
Foster,
Pry.
yeah.
So Foster was the second, but there's no money. Like, the money part of the contract isn't out yet. I would be shocked if it was more than $9 million.
Yes, me too.
I mean, you just can't.
Right.
Because then you can use that extra money and invest it in your program.
Exactly.
Rather than just paying Penn State. I think this is a major, major, major loss for Penn State.
Right,
because
absolutely.
When you think about college coaches, they usually fall under one of three categories, unless you're Nick Saban and you're just under all three, but he's a unicorn.
Yeah.
You're either really good at recruiting,
yes,
really good at managing games, or really good at coaching NFL talent.
Correct.
It's usually one of three.
Right.
James Franklin is a really good recruiter.
Yeah, he is.
And the fact that he's going to Blacksburg, Virginia, which is still, I still consider Virginia in the northeast-ish.
Sure.
I think North Carolina is usually where I'd start to consider the southeast.
Right.
That's usually like my line. I think this hurts Penn State because he's so good at recruiting that area, and he's still somewhat in that area.
Yes.
I mean, Blacksburg's not too far.
Right. I would say they're recruiting a lot of the same guys.
Yeah.
In both those schools. Yeah.
And now Penn State is going to have to compete with their former head coach who had guys committing to Penn State because he was so good at recruiting. This is a major, major loss for Penn State.
Yeah.
And I don't know if they're going to be able to recover because right now that northeast sector, which has it has an abundance of talent.
Oh, yeah. The talent.
Now they're going to go to Virginia Tech because they're going to invest the money now.
Yes.
I'm excited to see, even though Virginia Tech's a arch rival of my alma mater, West Virginia.
That's right.
I'm excited to see how electric Lane Stadium is again.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Because I think it's – and the ACC is great for him too.
Yes, that was my biggest takeaway is I wanted to know what conference he's going to because you and I talked about it. We debated about it when a couple of SEC jobs, when the second SEC job came open, you had Arkansas, then you had Florida open, and then, of course, obviously since then LSU's been open as well, and Auburn. So when you had all those teams up there, I was like, I could see James Franklin trying to get back into the SEC.
Yeah.
However, in today's world of college football, where we already have a 12-team playoff and could have a 16-team playoff a little bit later on, it could be a very interesting situation to not go to the SEC, go to the ACC or the Big 12, whether it's a team like Oklahoma State or whatever is open right now, to be able to go to another league and try to dominate that league.
What does James Franklin do best? He beats teams that have less talent than he does.
Yes, absolutely.
At Penn State.
Right.
It was always when he played a team with equal or greater talent.
Right.
That sometimes, or not sometimes, most of the time his teams just wouldn't be able to pull out the win. I know the Ohio State game last year was a close loss. The Oregon Big Ten Championship was a close loss. Notre Dame was a close loss.
Yeah.
But in the ACC, you're not going to find a lot of teams that have better talent than you because it's just the ACC isn't really a football conference anymore.
Yep.
Until these other programs start throwing money in as well, I could see Virginia Tech easily sitting in the top 5 of the ACC as long as they want to keep Franklin there.
No question. Because curiosity killed me, I had to pull up their schedule for next year. And not every game is set in stone right now. The ACC game's still working out. But they play 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 home games.
Wow.
Their schedule is they open with VMI, then Old Dominion. Both those games are at home. Then they go on the road to face Noah Gross's Maryland Terrapins there in College Park. Then they go to James Madison, they host James Madison. Which is a dangerous football team, but in my opinion, if I'm doing a look-ahead line, there's probably a little bit better than them. Virginia, Georgia Tech, NC State, and Pitt are all at home. The game's on the road. Miami, Boston College, go to Cal, and then Clemson. So your one trip to the West Coast is to play Cal in Berkeley. That should be a win there. Everybody else is at home or in Miami, short trip. Boston College, short trip, obviously, and then the Clemson game, short trip. So I think he has to look at the schedule and say, hey, like, this is very, 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 very winnable. If you go 10-2, 11-1 with this schedule, you could literally be in the college football playoff next year.
I think 10-2 easily gets you in the ACC championship just based on how we've seen it this year. I mean, there was thought that a 4-loss Duke team could have been playing for the ACC championship this year. I know that kind of shaked itself out with a Virginia loss this past weekend. But I wouldn't be surprised now to see all of the Penn State commits that decommitted after he was fired just head down to Blacksburg.
To see how many
and that's going to be awful for Penn State because now you're going to have to get a guy that can recruit. You're going to need to get a guy that can tap into two of those specialties, as I like to say. You have to find a guy that can recruit. You need to win back the Northeast somehow from James Franklin. That's priority number one because he's just basically going to steal all your guys now. And number two, you need a guy that can manage the games because that's just what Franklin was just unable to do for Penn State. Right.
And I think that at Virginia Tech, of course, they have high expectations. I mean, this is a team that had Frank Beamer for a long time. They enjoy those Michael Vick years and a program that's been really solid for a very long time. However, I do think that there is a certain, maybe not what Eli Drinkwitz has at Missouri, but there's a certain leash that is going to be a lot longer at Virginia Tech than it is at Penn State. And he knows how to pick them as far as the home game operations, because Penn State, obviously phenomenal, and my favorite ever, my favorite as far as college entrances go is Enter Sandman at Virginia Tech.
Yes.
And so college football atmosphere, from the atmosphere standpoint, I think this is a hire that really, I know this is the first in the coaching cycle,
carousel,
so to speak, and the carousel, but I think that this is a home run if you're Virginia Tech, and possibly a huge loss if you're, like you mentioned it, if you're Penn State, considering that he'll still be in your backyard, still trying to get players to go to Blacksburg instead of there. I had to look up the number for Virginia Tech. They plan to add $229 million.
Yes, $229. That's what I just saw as well.
So $229 lets you know that they're committed to football, because I knew James Franklin was not going to go to a place, being where he's from, being the fact that he's got ties to both the NFL but also the SEC and the Big Ten. He was not going to go to a place that he knew they could not win, and not a place that's not tied financially to being successul. He thought Virginia Tech was. Now
and Pete Thamel was the one that broke this. It came out just a few minutes ago, but he does expect. Obviously, Penn State was on the hook for $49 million of his contract. But he says that number is subject to offset and should end up being significantly less pending the terms of Virginia Tech's contract. So he's projecting that Virginia Tech is paying more than $9 million to him, which I just find it a little bit interesting because, I mean, now they have to pay Penn State. You could have gotten Franklin. Franklin would have gotten $9 million a year regardless. You could have spent a few more dollars. I mean, they know more than we do, obviously, but Franklin, major ties to the I-95 area. I mean, Blacksburg is just it sits in such a perfect spot because he's also so good at. Not only is he good at recruiting the Pennsylvania area, he's good at recruiting the DMV area, the Delaware, Maryland, Virginia area.
And that's
major. That's where a lot of talent comes. You want to talk about Florida, you want to talk about New Jersey, the DMV is a major talent pool.
It's absolutely huge in various sports, but especially in football. So he brings a resume that has 68% of his games he's won, and won more than 120 games as the head coach there at Penn State. He replaces Brent Pry, of course, who was fired after that 0-3 start to the season. I just think this is a major home run here for Virginia Tech. We'll see how it all shakes out. And in a topsy-turvy world of college football,